It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're celebrating, Mike, the WGA Strike ending in good terms for everybody, right?
Confetti,
the
poppers,
people got what they
sparklers.
want. Yes. They came to the senses. We'll talk about what that means a little bit. Maybe not the finer details, but some good things coming out of this. Marvel is doubling down on their animation offerings. Mm-hmm. What does this even mean? We'll tell you more. James Gunn is revealing his DCEU carryovers and more. So,
yeah, we are. I mean, I know this is less new every week that it goes on, but I was just telling Chris, are we even podcasters anymore? Or are we like live streamers now?
Yeah, that's a good question.
The only thing that stopped us from transitioning was just like, I mean, I know you're doing a lot behind the scenes, Chris, but to me, it's just like you just clicked one button that said live stream, and it's just like, oh, that was the only difference. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes this week, but I feel like we need to be like checking for like emojis in the chat. Do we need to be like people are always like throwing letters. They like drop me like a P in the chat or something like that. Yeah. Or drop me like an L or I guess L would be.
I would say
so don't do that.
We had a really good experience last week when someone was like, "Hey, I can't hear the guy in the blue shirt," and that's because when we do spoiler reviews, we use different audio capture system than the other, like they're different scenes. So there was someone who was able to tell me that, and I was able to catch up to it. So that was really plus. But absolutely, that I think we're technically live streaming right now. So hopefully, I don't see any viewers in here yet. But that doesn't mean you guys won't catch up to it. But it is fun. It's very fun. And
well, that's because we do absolutely no promotion and have set no expectations of when we start the live stream at all. So this is just more gives Chris a nice little break when it comes to uploading the video to YouTube, because it's technically like uploading right now. We're getting it to you right to your ears right now. And on top of all of that, Chris has 4 beautifully vibrating wisdom teeth in his mouth, which I only find funny because I somewhat recently had mine removed as well. So I feel like I'm like sympathizing a little bit with adult wisdom teeth-itis, as I'm calling it.
Oh yeah, thank you. No, I'm in horrible pain right now, people. Like just to cut through the butter here. Mike is laughing at my pain, and this is our friendship though. It's fine. I would laugh at his, he would laugh at mine. But yeah, I have some wisdom teeth movement happening, and you're fine, and you're like, oh, and then one day it happens, and you have so much pain, you're like, I miss when my teeth didn't hurt when I was just sitting still. It's like whenever you have like a runny nose or like a cough or a sore throat, right? You're like, I took for granted all the times things were just normal. And, it hasn't stopped me from eating or drinking anything. If I just sit still for too long without medication, it will come through, and it does hurt a little bit. So I'm here. I'm bringing my energy. I'm having hot flashes from this mic because it's just like woof, buddy. But we're having a good time, and we're here to do this podcast with us. But
Chris, I'll offer you this one word of advice: one movie that you absolutely should not be watching with achy wisdom teeth. And I know you would never normally watch this movie, so this is kind of a moot point. But maybe the listeners out there will appreciate this. You can go ahead and skip My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 out there, folks. And you might be asking,
oh my God, I was so ready to watch that later tonight as a comfort film.
Now, if I'll give a little bit of context. So the first My Big Fat Greek Wedding was one of those like smash kind of like, I don't know necessarily if I'd call it an indie hit, but it was a movie with an incredibly low budget and made a ton of money. It was like an absolute like phenomenon. It got people out of the house into the theaters multiple times to watch these wacky Greek kind of archetypes on screen. And it's a guilty pleasure in our household. If you like just kind of like rom-coms in general, definitely fits into that. They made a sequel, obviously, because, if you make a ton of money off a movie, you're going to go ahead and make a sequel. And it was just more of the same. A lot of like silliness, not as good as the first one. Joey Fatone is in it. If you're a Backstreet Boys fan, I guess you got to watch it to be a completionist.
Boy, I tell you what, Backstreet Boys fans would punch you in the face because I'm pretty sure that's NSYNC.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah. Wait, no.
Yeah, he's
Is
in
it?
sync. Yeah, he was just in the Hot
Joey?
Ones in sync one.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, okay. Well, either way, it makes him even more relevant.
Yeah.
So they went ahead and made a third one that just came out recently. I don't know what the impetus was here. I don't know, maybe it was delayed more than it had to be due to COVID. But, ooh, it's a stinker. It is all over the place. I mean, lucky enough, you have some of, like, the cartoonish family members around that are doing wacky, goofy stuff. But, like, the story is just incoherent. Like, I've talked about on the podcast before about how I'm relatively immune to, like, bad acting and bad editing. It's like for some reason my brain just like doesn't pick up on it, and it has to be like really egregious for me to notice like, hey, something's really going wrong here. And it's really it is all over the place. You're in one scene 1 second, you're in a totally different the next. You don't know when you got there. You're slinging back to the next one. You don't know where you are. So Chris, just avoid this one.
Well,
and you'll be fine.
We haven't used this in a while, so I pulled up the numbers, Mike, to check Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Ooh, I didn't even look at the box office for this one.
Okay, so the first one came out in 2002. Okay, we're 21 years ago. Worldwide gross $375 million.
Ooh, and the budget on that one had to have been
2002.
nothing.
That's good money. That is good money. 14 years later was Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 in 2016. Worldwide gross of $92 million.
Diminishing returns,
Jinx.
Obviously, but it still made money, I'm sure. And this one, like, to go to show you probably how little this one's going to make, we were trying to go see it in the movie theaters today, but there wasn't a time that was lining up. And then when I was looking up the theater, it said, or rent digitally at home. And I was like, this movie just came out. So we just watched it on the couch, which was probably the better option.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 came out September of 2023. 35, we'll round up, 35 million worldwide. So even less than throughout the whole thing. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I'm really glad.
I'm
really glad everyone tuned in this week to episode 444 of Superhero Slate, so they could get an update on the Greekiverse.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and tell you what I saw this week, Mike, because I didn't put in the notes here. I went and saw Wicked, the play, for the first time.
Oh, yeah, I saw your Insta post.
Because I've never seen Wicked. Have you seen Wicked, Mike?
No, I feel like...
Oh, this feels like something that I figured you and your wife would have seen.
No, I feel like Wicked is something that I'm sure I would enjoy watching, but it almost feels something that like has existed for so long. If you come across like a theater nerd, right, they'd be like, they'd almost be like, oh, it's like way too mainstream to like it anymore. But I would still like to see it.
I didn't feel that at all. I felt a lot of people did want to see this in this area, and it was pretty good. But I will say, we saw it here. The music or the audio mixing, the audio mixing, like hearing, was some of the worst I've ever been to in a play. I could I could hear them singing, but you can't make out the words. Like, you know, when like you like you're paying attention, but you can't hear what they're saying. I'm like, what are you saying? So that kind of like took out a lot of like the larger, like if it wasn't one person, like more than one person, it was just ruined throughout. So that sucked. However, I think this would make a great movie. And a lot of people say we need a Wicked movie, and I think this needs to be one.
Chris, the second you started talking, you were doing a little bit of Googling on my behalf, so I did a little Googling on your behalf. Wicked Part 1 is scheduled for release November 27th, 2024. Wicked Part 2 will be released November 26th, 2025.
Yeah, and it's got a pretty good. It's got a pretty good half. So it does. For people who don't know, this is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, if you will. And the actual Mike, I don't know. This is not a spoiler. This is actually very fun. The second half takes place concurrently with The Wizard of Oz.
So, that's fun.
I know. I'm like, oh man, that thing's got to be well out of copyright by this point, right? So like, we're overdue for a Wizard of Oz movie that's not Tim Burton's.
And
Visions.
I was just...
Or no, Sam Raimi.
I was just about to ask you this, but I'm on the Wikipedia page, so I have all of the information I could ever need. I was just going to ask if it was a musical or a play, and there's music in it, and I'm entering the phase of my life where I love music and musicals. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'll have to see if... maybe I can go see this before it comes out as a film. Yeah. But I feel like the film is like the crib notes. That'll be the cheater. I can just go see the movie.
Well, if they're doing it in two parts, that's pretty good. That means that we're going to get full act rather than the condensed version. So pretty excited about that. Who is directing it? Does it say, or which company is producing it?
I was just looking that up. John Chu is going to be
nice.
directing. So I don't see the studio there. For some reason, it screams Warner Brothers to me, but I couldn't tell you. If that's that case
I've seen this because Ariana Grande is playing Glinda, the Good Witch. Okay, this makes a lot more sense now that I'm looking at this. So, I have heard of this. I just I've never seen it before, so it's over my. But I did have a good time. I think it's a good story, and I'm very excited to watch
Universal.
it.
Universal Pictures. All right.
That's fair. That's pretty good. I'll take that at this point. So, cool. Well, that was what we have, Mike. Unless you have anything else, I think. Oh, I do want to say one thing. You mentioned this, and someone else mentioned Gen V got a theatrical early release this week. Someone actually asked me to go while I was in Wicked, and the first 3 episodes, I believe, are on Prime. And you mentioned you're going to watch them.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised. I don't know if I just wasn't being targeted by the marketing, which is very, very odd. But all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, Gen V's out, and we're recording the podcast in like an hour. I can't fit any of these in."
Well, yeah, I didn't know it actually came out either. I just knew they were doing the reading. I don't think I'm gonna watch this until it's all out. If I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
Oh, you're gonna do the binge model?
I don't care about spin-off shows of the shows we're currently enjoying. Are you familiar with Fear the Walking Dead, Mike?
Oh no.
Yeah,
I'm very familiar.
Yeah, so like I'm sure it's a good show, but I would we're waiting on season 4 of this to drop, right? Of The Boys. So like yes, we're doing Gen V. No, The Boys is not in the title. Like and I'm sure it's probably well done, but I'm just going to wait till it's done because I just don't care enough about a spin-off show in a world where I want to see the main stuff.
See, this is what happens is I'll watch it and then I'll make you want to care about it if it's good enough. So you just got to wait for me to get in there.
The more you like it, the less I'm going to want to watch it, Mike. No, I'm kidding. But so anyone who's watched it, yes, we know it's out now because we just found out today, but we'll probably come back at some point and talk about the show. I don't even know how many episodes it is. 6, 8, 13? Who knows? We'll figure it out. But let's jump into a hot topic right now, and that is One Piece. One Piece. First and foremost, welcome all new listeners from our review who caught our review on YouTube this week and subscribed to the show. Welcome to our regularly scheduled program where we break down comic book and superhero and anime movie news, or TV news as well on the show. But One Piece has dominated Netflix's top 5 for the 4th week in a row. Which is great. I don't. This is not any surprise to me, right? You?
It feels like they've kind of finally got wide enough, right? They cast a larger net. I guess sailing pun, pirate pun included. Yeah. So this is good for them, right? I don't know if we're quite up to like a Stranger Things fervor just yet, but you got to build on it, right? Well, the first season of Game of Thrones didn't control the universe. The first season of Stranger Things was applauded, but it was a bit of like a slow viral growth.
Yeah, well, I would also say One Piece has the things that those don't, and that's I guess Game of Thrones had books, right, to kind of bolster that the novels. One Piece has an anime and a manga behind it to kind of bolster it, and all the other stuff. I didn't know there's a One Piece card game. And I guarantee you it's fully stocked at Target because the show just came out. And I'm like, I didn't even know they had this. But they had it there. And I'm like, oh, I know these characters on the cover of these cards now. So it felt good. But I think this is great. I'm glad more people are starting to see it. I do appreciate the people helping us fill in information about the anime in the comments. That was really funny. Yeah. And people who said that, I would not rate this show with any violence at all, based to tell my in-laws that there's no violence in the show. Yeah.
I feel like the real true test, obviously, without saying, is going to be the second season, and it's going to be the energy that's leading up to it, right? Everybody was a little trepidatious with this first season dropping. We didn't know which way it's going to go. So now it's going to be, does the audience return season 2? And it seems like, no brainer, Mike. Why wouldn't people watch the second season? There's a surprising number of things on Netflix that I have enjoyed that equally surprisingly got a second season that I just never went back and watched. And I suppose, I could be a part of the problem there with things not getting renewed, but we loved the first season of Lock and Key. Yep. Never got around to watching the second season of Lock and Key, just for one example. And I feel like now is kind of the the cozy season where it would really really pay off. But
you can't get complacent, right? These shows, they can't rest on their laurels. They can't get complacent. And I will point out a very divisive episode of Stranger Things season 2 called The Lost Sister, and that's the one where they had like the mini X-Men episode that some people were like up in arms over. I enjoyed it because I was like, oh, I love that. This is X-Men, right? For me. So not every second season is also a hit. But the Duffer Brothers and the team on Stranger Things were able to come back for season 3 and even better 4, and hopefully finish off pretty strong with 5. So yeah, I mean, you're right. They can't afford to swing and miss right on this stuff because this is a very expensive show. It looks like, and we have a lot to catch up on. Apparently,
can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, can I segue us into our next topic?
I would love you to, because this is part of it as well. Actually, yeah. So go ahead and get us into the next topic, man.
Yeah, I would just love to say, speaking of money and financials, the writer's strike has finally been solved, I guess.
Well, preliminary. Just so everyone knows that, yes, the Writers Guild has a preliminary agreement with the American Motion Picture something AMPTP, whatever it stands for, theaters and something, to resolve the strike. And the board has also voted to let members go back to work with a big caveat, right? Mike, what's that caveat?
Yeah, the caveat is that last week we were fast and furiously on Google trying to figure out, when are they actually back in the room, right? Yeah. So we were looking back at like historical data. Like I was trying to dig up articles from the writer's strike from 2008, but all of them focused on when the strike, when there was a tentative agreement reached, right? Yeah. But really what you're looking for legally is when the contract is ratified, and that's when everyone in the guild gets a chance to look at it and vote on it, and all the members agree, and then it's finally ratified. But what we found out pretty quickly last week is that there's kind of like this nebulous gray area in the middle where the strike is concluded and the picketing is concluded and everyone can get back to work under kind of like the guise of like, oh, we're pretty much certain that we're going to come to an agreement here, but like, don't go do anything too crazy just yet. Yeah. Give it like a week or two.
Yeah, you can go back to work. However, there is a vote coming, I believe October 2nd through the 5th, for the members to vote on that essentially make this agreement truth, like law, right? Like, hey, this is what our new agreement is. And things could, obviously if it was a bad agreement, it could vote in the other direction and it wouldn't stick, and then obviously you stop working. But this seems to be a good agreement. It seems to be in the favor of the writers, with a lot of their sticking points kind of solved. A lot of things on AI writing and accreditation to what an AI. A studio can't tell you to go, here's an idea, go write with AI, or if the idea starts with AI, they can't get story credit or something. There's some really cool stuff in there if you go read it. But
they can't claim if like an executive goes in and uses ChatGPT to like output a paragraph for an idea of a story. Yeah. They can pay a writer to adapt that paragraph, but it won't be an adaptation. It'll be the writer's original work. So really, like, and I've heard some people kind of try to philosophize, around these AI tools online, and some people are saying maybe the best way to look at these tools is like they're calculators, right? Like we can't undo the calculator, we can't destroy it and pretend it didn't existed, right? But like you can't put in like 2 + 2 = 4 and claim the calculator has ownership over that number 4, right? So this is a great start.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I've used those tools to help me do some things, not necessarily work related, but like speed things up. And I'm sure you have too, Mike, in your time. And I just mess with them. But the best part of this is now that the strike has kind of is moving towards a resolution quickly, that SAG and AFTRA are now meeting with them, looking starting this week to have those conversations because they had a lot of similar sticking points, right? Likeness and AI use of those characters. So I feel pretty confidently by the end of October, maybe early November, both of these strikes will hopefully be resolved in their favor.
Yeah, And if no one out there is just too familiar with just production cycles or just like the ebbs and flow of just like the yearly calendar, unfortunately, since a lot of this is kind of wrapping up towards the end of the year, a lot of like studios and production companies are probably still going to call the rest of the year a wash, right? At least with like new projects and new things getting off the ground, right? Obviously, things right now that are in the writing phase will get back to work. And then when the actors are done, things that were paused in the middle, we'll be able to get back to work. But we probably won't be hearing a lot of announcements of brand new stuff until the new year comes along. But I think when the new year does come along, it's going to be fast. It's going to be furious. We're going to have like tons of announcements of a ton of things. Like it's going to be a really, really, really busy start to 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously anything that was currently in production will probably pick back up fairly quickly. I don't have it in here, but like similar Deadpool 3, right? We know it was filming. Once that filming is back, Ryan Reynolds can actually start writing again if he wants to, right? Or the crew can. Once they can start filming again. But some of the projects resuming immediately include things we talk about all the time: Last of Us Season 2, One Piece Season 2, Stranger Things Season 5. Things that are not in front of the camera yet can still work, to Mike's point, through the end of the year, right? Things that we know that are happening. So I think this is a big win for everybody. I'm glad, it's sad that it has historically been so long, but these are some pretty good, I would say, safety nets for writers, right, at the end of the day. And go ahead.
I think one of my favorite tidbits that came out of this, because I was listening to some podcasts where some of the members of the negotiating committee were kind of out there doing like doing their press line. And one was obviously probably one of the second bigger headlines is the streaming residuals have finally been negotiated, something that historically just straight up has not existed. So now the guild will finally receive performance numbers from these streaming individuals. And I feel like they were probably a little less pained in handing over numbers, since they're going to kind of have to start proving viewership to advertisers, since all of these platforms are getting ad-supported tiers on there. So they just had to come to come to the idea of like, oh, we're going to have to start releasing numbers out there into the world.
Well, and also one of the things is the previous Bob at Disney is being sued by shareholders because they weren't releasing real streaming numbers either, right? Like real membership numbers. So like obviously it's not just the writers, it's not just the actors, it's not just the advertisers. It's everybody needs to be held accountable. And with I've mentioned, the streaming bubble bursting, this is something that is going to be, it's going to be just we're going to know. They're going to know, and it'll eventually get to us eventually. But I think this is great for everybody, Mike, and hopefully you're going to see more of that in your area since you're out in that part of town.
Yeah. And the great thing about whenever you add something kind of like brand new, something that's never existed before into a bargaining agreement, the great thing about it is now you can improve on it over time. So if they felt like they didn't quite get the percentage of residuals that they negotiated this time along, but the framework exists now. So now in 3 years when they go back to the negotiating table, bam, now it's very simple to the point of just like, well, let's just slightly bump these numbers up. Yeah. 3 years later, we'll bump these up. So it's just great. They did a lot of hard work to just create brand new revenue streams for writers. So this will be great.
And you bring up a good point. What people don't know is there's negotiations going on well in between every strike we've ever heard. Strikes are just when there are no more options, right? Like there are negotiations and pay increases and other things. But whenever something so drastically needs to change the framework of the agreement, that's when we get to the strike level, essentially. So, there will be more agreements, more pay. Like we're not stuck at this for the next 20 years. Things will come along. So hopefully they can resolve those quickly without that. All right, let's shift some gears, Mike. Let's talk about some fun things. Bethesda. Are you familiar with the video game company Bethesda, if you will?
Yeah, they make all of those kind of like first person role playing games.
Yes, Skyrim would be one, right? Like or what's it called?
Did they do Baldur's Gate?
No, they didn't do Baldur's Gate. That's somebody else. Okay. So Fallout, Elder Scrolls, they've also worked on Doom, the newer Doom games. Starfield, which just launched, right? So they are also, reports are they are working on a game and quote unquote under the Disney banner, Mike. And they make quality games. They make some real high quality games. So this is very excited for this to know. Now they're also still working on an Indiana Jones game. Why did that come out weird? Indiana Jones game that was announced several years ago, and this is not that game. That is not under there. So I was going to ask you, if Disney, huge, big banner here, but I'm going to assume it's not Marvel, it's not Lucasfilm, it's not Pixar, it's just straight Disney. What Disney property would go to a Bethesda that you would play like an RPG?
Yeah, I mean, do you just automatically assume that we're leaning towards like more adult or mature content? And if so, like, do you just kind of like rule out maybe all of the animated stuff and try to think what else do they have ownership over? Yeah, the fact that like the rumor, like you said, is around Disney. Yeah, it's probably not like Marvel, especially since they already have a lot of these games announced already.
And Marvel has a games banner, right? They probably wouldn't say Disney games for that. I will say
I'm trying to think of what it could be, to be honest.
So this company, Bethesda, has previously worked on the Pirates of the Caribbean games in the early 2000s.
Okay.
So when you mentioned dark, there's a lot of things with pirates going on lately out there. Microsoft even owns there's a sea game they have that's been out for forever, and I forget what it's called. It's a pirate game. So do you think maybe it could be a Pirates of the Caribbean style RPG maybe?
I mean, I would think if you were a company that maybe wanted to synergize with the release of a video game and another property, we do know that there's been bubblings of another Pirates, probably like reboot or relaunch or something in that vein. Nothing started production, right? So maybe if they got started on a game, maybe by the time a movie comes out, there could be something to see. That would be kind of cool. Now it gets my head spinning of like other maybe it could be like a Jungle Cruise game or like what other park rides could possibly be turned into maybe Space Mountain.
Space Mountains leans into Starfield. Now I would say one of the cool things I would love to see, if they stayed under Disney and leaned into animation and maybe not R-rated, maybe not dark, but like maybe kind of like how they're mixing and matching all their Disney stuff with the Lorcana card game and the Dreamlight Valley.
They also have like something called like Mirrorverse too.
Mirrorverse, yeah. So like, what if it's more of a a Kingdom Hearts, right? So maybe it's more of a bigger mismatch of the Disney world somehow, and you're like it's a first person RPG rather than a turn based RPG like Kingdom Hearts in like the larger Disney lore.
I guess, yeah, I suppose maybe it could be. Maybe they're even like adapting like Lorcana, that's kind of exploded. It had a lot of buzz even before you could even buy the cards. So maybe they kind of looked at that and said, hey, maybe we turn that into a game. But I don't know. I've never considered myself a video game expert by any means. I'm still working my way through Tears of the Kingdom. I just figured out how to launch a glowing arrow so I can see in the caves under Hyrule, which I felt like I should have known how to do that hours ago. But yeah, I've never really played a Bethesda game either, so I'm a little in the dark.
I've played a little Starfield. I had a really bad experience with Skyrim where my game just glitched the entire time at the opening, so I never went back. But yeah, they make really, really dense games. So maybe we can get some, if anyone wants to throw out any ideas for some Bethesda Disney banner games, I would love to know what everyone is thinking. But no, it's not Marvel. Let's talk about Marvel for a minute here. Marvel's Avengers anime, which came out in 2016, I believe, is starting to stream for free on YouTube, Mike. Which, is weird, because why would it be on YouTube and not on Disney Plus? But then I'm like, well, wait, maybe they don't want to pay residuals on Disney Plus and they can advertise on YouTube, so maybe that's why it's going here. But all 39 episodes of this show will be released weekly on YouTube through most of 2024 as well.
Yeah, I'm always very curious with YouTube strategies for like big companies, right? Because it's always pretty obvious when it comes to small creators, right? They probably make the lion's share of their revenue off of YouTube, or that's where all of their audience is. So it makes sense for them to be releasing stuff on there, right? Or even if maybe they're from another platform like Twitch. It makes sense to move your video over to YouTube at some point in time, right? With like a big company, it's just like, well, I guess it's just comes down to what ad rates that they can negotiate just on their own behalf, because we do know that you can negotiate better ad rates if you're like a bigger company or a bigger studio. You don't just have to rely on kind of like the built-in ad tools. So maybe, they're kind of like waving their big Disney D around and like, hey, we got this Marvel property and we got a bunch of advertisers to sync up next to it. I don't know. I only bring this up because there's this comedy TV show, kind of variety show that I've been wanting to watch called Taskmaster, which is like a UK-based show, which is not unlike what they're doing on Dropout with Game Changer, which I have been binging and loving.
It's so good, isn't it? Game Changer is so fun.
It's so amazing. It's you got to go watch it. I mean, like Dropout like costs like no money at all, and like you'll just be. It's like millennial Whose Line Is It Anyway is like the easiest way to describe it, but it's just so much better than that in my opinion. But anyway, Taskmaster, their newest season, which is a British show, usually kind of walled off from Americans, right? Is just they're adding the episodes weekly to their YouTube channel. So maybe this is a sign that like, did the YouTube algorithm change recently? Are they paying out more to creators to like compete with TikTok more than usual? I don't know. But maybe that's why it's landing on YouTube. Maybe just the math, lined up right. Well, or I think maybe the more obvious answer is what you said, Chris, right? It's just like, we got to put it someplace, and we don't really want to pay too much money to people that have made it for us.
Yeah, exactly. And as a channel who's put out weekly content for almost 9 years now, this is how you do it, right? You maintain consistency. People come back, they check in. So this is great. I think for people who don't know, Marvel's Avengers anime was produced by Madhouse, the company that does One Punch Man and Death Note. So this isn't like a second-rate anime either, right? Or like like some company that's never made anime before. So it's pretty good. It's dubbed in English. I believe it also might have. I think you can change the language maybe to Japanese with subtitles if you want. But I think this is great. I'm looking forward to downloading them all when I'm done, Mike, and watching them, or at least having them in my repository for when I want to.
The bonus, because I'm just kind of clicking through the first episode on YouTube. YouTube has that heat map right on the timeline, so I'm just like clicking around to like all of like the peaks and valleys. Like, oh, now I'm seeing Captain America, and when they appear on the screen, they get like a lower third that like shows their name. That's funny.
So in honor of you, Mike, I'm actually downloading Taskmaster right now in the background for you. So
oh my gosh,
you know what? Because here's the thing,
coming true.
It is fall, and fall brings the Great British Baking Show that we both didn't.
Oh my gosh, how do we not talk about that at the top of the show?
I don't know. It's been a long week. Yeah, it's been a long week. We're introducing
a new segment right now. Okay. Great British Bake Off.
I'll put it in the notes.
Chris, I want to know who your early favorites are. I don't expect you to know any of their names, so just use any sort of identifying appearance or quirk about them.
My favorite, I know his name, but he wore a Star Wars shirt when I first saw him, and I said, "That's my man." Do you know who that one was?
No.
His name is Dan, and he won the Baker.
Oh, he wore a Star Wars shirt in that first episode? Oh, I didn't catch it. I just remembered like about halfway through the episode, I was like, "Why is everybody wearing blue?" He wore
it in the video where they do the vignette of who they are. He had on a Death Star shirt.
Oh, I must have not caught it there. But yeah, Dan's great. He's got that positive kind of like
scientific mentality.
There's we always talk about the archetypes on Bake Off, and I feel like they did a good job matching the archetypes this year as well.
Can I say who my least favorite is?
Who's your least
Maddie,
favorite?
Because he can't make buttercream frosting.
What animal did Maddie make? This is how I remember.
He made a dog like everyone else. He made the square dog that looked like it got ran over. It was supposed to be black, and it came out gray, and they're like, "That's not black."
Well, the best way to describe, he's the young archetype.
He's very young. He's the young one of the young two. The youngest one is the one who worked in the library with
one with the cochlear implant.
No, not her. There's another guy who's younger. He was pretty well, but yeah. Episode 1 is very much a cluster of who's who. If you're not like really.
Oh yeah, you can't like. I mean, normally I try not to be on my phone when I watch Bake Off because it's like a cleanse for me. It's like going into like a sauna or something like that. But you definitely can't do it on the first episode because like they're quick cutting left and right. You got to like catch in on all these people who they are, and like if you blink for a second, you will have missed internalizing that face, and you have to internalize every face so you can like have stakes when they send somebody home or give somebody.
But when you ask what did he make at the end, well, half of them made dogs, so that really didn't help anybody.
Yeah, my wife and I really like the woman who made the sea turtle at the end. She's really nice. She just seems like she's got really nice mom energy, which I like. And also like we enjoyed the woman that has the sign language translator is like so interesting because like we're trying to figure out if she's wearing colored contact lenses because her eyes are even bluer than Paul Hollywood, which is amazing. And I'm so surprised it didn't come up in the first episode, the fact that her eyes are insanely blue. And then also like there's never been an interpreter in the tent before, and I just think that's really interesting, and I don't want the interpreter to go anywhere, so we're kind of rooting for her on that end. But she made a really good Robin there at the end, so I think she kind of earned her keep there with the piping work there.
I can't remember the guy who lost, but I kept saying his Sinbad. I kept calling him Sinbad, but because he looks like Sinbad. He had the earring.
Oh yeah, he did have an earring.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's Sinbad, and my wife's like, who? I'm like, Sinbad, the actor. He had that movie Kazam in the '90s, where he's a magician, and she's like, what? I'm like, no, that's a joke. But yeah, I don't feel. I'm enjoying it. This is such a great show because it's so positive. It's so exciting. I believe the lady who made the turtle, did she get the hug from Paul Hollywood in this episode?
Yes, she got a hug because she was like nervous.
So
and
she is so terrified looking in there. But this is just a show. We get it here early on Tuesdays when I download from the UK. I think it comes out Fridays on Netflix. But boy, the Great British Bake Off, Great British Baking Show, whatever you call it, it is just a fun show all around.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out next weekend for the podcast because I'm gonna be over there in their neck of the woods, and I'm just like, I'm gonna miss Bake Off for a week. And I'm like a little bummed about it, but I didn't even think of. I should look up and see if there's been any contestants in the past that are in the areas that we're visiting to see if they've opened like any bakeries. Yeah, I don't know what the percentage of success is because I know if they get popular, if they get further enough along, they almost always get cookbook deals, right? Which is great. But I feel like far few of them open up physical locations.
This is American Idol for people who bake in Britain, essentially. You're gonna get like a song or two deal out of it, but only the popular ones really get the albums.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, absolutely, yeah. Figure it out. And if not, Mike, you've got my hookup. My bandwidth is international, so help yourself to whatever you need.
Thank God.
Yeah, come back with an accent. I want you to come back with your best British accent.
Oh God, no, it'd be so bad.
All right, we're going to shift gears. Loki, Season 1 is on Blu-ray, coming out this week. Mine's in the mail to come to me for the 4K. And there have been, I didn't link it here, but I will link it later. I don't know if you saw the cut scene where Throg comes up into the coronation scene with Loki and interrupts it. It's like half animated, half non-animated, but it's the frog Thor with a hammer. Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's pretty cool. Like I mentioned, there are some cool scenes that they're not putting into the movies, but they did release that somewhere. I've got to go find it. It's pretty entertaining. I'm just so happy for Loki to return. Inconvenient timing when I'm going on vacation, but I will be happy to dive back into it. I've been really craving some premium, just like Marvel storytelling for a while, right? This is something that we don't have to worry about anything but the previous season, right? Everything else is kind of going, it's doing its own story. It looks good. It's high concept. I like high concept. Our other stuff has been very not high concept. And I think it's going to be great. And I'm excited that they're releasing these shows on home release. I know that sounds weird because they're meant for streaming, but I love to have them on my shelf when I'm looking at my MCU timeline. And Loki and WandaVision, 2 shows that really I think deserve that because I think they deserve credit. We haven't come back to them since 2021, right, or so, to revisit these shows and take a look at them again. And I see you're looking at the video right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the timestamp where you see the frog.
I think I linked the wrong one here. But yeah, I will find the right link here in a second and send it over. But literally, it's like, whenever you see those.
I like seeing the half rendered Asgard. It's really funny.
Yeah. So let me see here. Let's see here. I'm gonna find it here in a second. It was also voiced by Chris Hemsworth, which is really funny. Oh, here it is. So I'm gonna officially put it in the show notes now, so you guys can see it and Mike can watch it here for us live. But while you watch, I'm gonna talk, Mike. I'll spin some lyrics here.
Yes, vamp for me.
Throg is very interesting. He is a frog variant of Thor, I believe, from the animal Avengers line, like Spider-Ham and Peter Porker. I know these are obviously pig ones, but they're not pig one, like they're not all pigs. I forget what Doctor Strange is, but like Alligator Loki. We saw Alligator Loki, and then we have Frog Thor, commonly referred to as Throg in these.
I wasn't expecting kind of like this comedic like time freeze snapshot. This is pretty funny. I wish they would have left that in the show.
Yeah. So and Throg was already in episode 5, shown trapped in a jar in the first season. So he did have a couple scenes. But yes, absolutely, I'm excited to do that. Season 2 drops this week, Mike. We get a double dose of the final episode of Ahsoka and the first episode of Loki. Season 2 this week. So and best part, guess what? It comes out on Thursday before you leave, so you're gonna get a go on your trip.
Nice.
Thinking about Loki. So fantastic. If Mike's thumbnail that he created didn't give it away, we're going to talk about Wakanda, the show, and this Black Panther spinoff series we've not talked about in a long time, which is being produced by Ryan Coogler, is now highly rumored, to be an animated show, Mike. And this has been revealed by Marvel Studios. They have founded multiple production companies for different things, and one of them is called a company called Maglev Train, and it's working on Golden City. And these are all essentially working titles and fake companies. Well, Maglev Train is a reference to the trains in Wakanda, right? And Golden City is the city of Wakanda. So this is a rumor that this show, we never really got a confirmation if it was live action. No one ever said anything. But with, production being ceased and probably cost being saying, hey, we got to make these things cheaper for our streaming service that's losing money, this is probably what they're going to do with it. So
yeah, I'm kind of along the same line of thought when it comes to cost saving, right? But I'm a man of two perspectives on this, right? The animated version of this show is obviously going to be cheaper to make than producing the live action one. But the thing that I never got really from any of these previous Black Panther movies was a decent look at Wakanda, right? We see throne rooms. We usually get like one exterior shot of like a market or something, and that's about it. We don't really know how Wakandans really live day to day. It was just all extremely surface level, right? So I was looking forward to a show so we could kind of dive into it a little bit, right? So at least in an animated environment, right, they should theoretically be able to produce all of the like virtual sets that they want to produce for this, so that could be cool. But unfortunately, just the sheer fact that now it's animated means it's already been kind of knocked down a few levels in prestige, right? Which, I don't necessarily agree with, right? But you've automatically just removed a certain percentage of audience that's just not going to tune in purely because it's animated, right? And that's just, unfortunately, the truth about it, right? But I think we could have a little bit more range of storytelling now that it's animated.
Right, and I think one of the other things as well with animation, like you mentioned, you can do a lot more is, this would be, if so, would this be our first in canon live action series at this point? Because What If is not, Spider-Man is not, what was the other one that's coming out? Marvel Zombies is not. This would be and I Am Groot is live action animation, so I'm not going to count that. So is this like the first animated portion of this?
And I would almost be worried that if it didn't perform very well, either through the audience or critically, they would just go ahead and say it's not part of the canon, right? Because, they have that ability. If it's live action, they have to commit to it being part of the story in the universe. But once it's animated, I feel like it's just one hand wave away from being removed from the official MCU timeline next publication, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't think I'm not cynical enough like you, Mike, to say that it's going to be bad, but like, it's just one of those things like, oh, this is just supplementary.
You're supposed to be even more cynical than me today because your wisdom teeth are battling inside your mouth. You're supposed to be angry at everything.
I normally I would be, Mike, and I'm just channeling through it here. But I think it's just one of the things like most people may view this. Oh, this is just supplementary material. We don't need to watch it, kind of thing, and that would be remiss. But hopefully they can show us what Wakanda is, and then give us a bigger vision of maybe the country as a whole, the history through the years, and then how it's operating today. So we'll keep you posted if we find anything else out about that. New York Comic Con is this week, and they might be able to announce some of the stuff, Mike, as they kind of get closer with that. The Marvels movie certainly currently on track for November release, and now has secured a China release date, which is I don't think we've had one in a while, a movie for one of Marvel or Disney that's been in China. So
yeah, well, it definitely helps that all of the I guess espionage is going to be galactic, right? Mm-hmm. That's helpful. I don't remember if Guardians Volume 3 got a Chinese release, but I'm sure animal rights could have been something that could have been a stickler. I'm just guessing. I'm just trying to think of things that could have been politically charged, in previous feature films. But yeah, I guess when you go to space, just all entirely, maybe the themes are a little bit easier to get across there with the censors.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up here on the numbers, Mike, because we can do that here. China did have Guardians did have a Chinese box office. And it came with $845 million, so pretty good. What was the other movie that came? Is that the last Marvel movie we had? I think it was, wasn't it?
Wow,
yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
That was the beginning of the summer. I guess Spider-Man, International. Yep. Ant-Man did too. So I guess I'm wrong. I thought more movies had not gotten a China release date. But this is great for them. This movie is also clocking in the shortest MCU movie time to date with 1 hour and 45 minutes with credits, Mike.
Hey, that's only 15 minutes longer than my Big Fat Greek Wedding 3.
Yeah.
So, but I have a feeling I'm going to be able to stomach this one a lot better.
Yeah, word is that this movie just jumps out the gate and goes, simply because we've been primed with Miss Marvel, right? So we know the characters, we know, and I guess in WandaVision, so we know the characters, we know this, so they can just jump in and go. They don't have to spend a lot of time introducing us to everybody. So I would say if you've not watched Miss Marvel and WandaVision by this point, you probably should to understand at least 2/3 of the characters in the Marvels. And you'll have a good time with those. So they should go pretty quick with that. But I'm excited for this, Mike. A good brisk movie that doesn't waste any time. That's what we need these days. So we'll cross our fingers on that. Big news in the X-Men realm. Marvel Studios says they're going to begin their search/taking pitches from writers for the X-Men franchise.
Chris, here's our time.
Yes.
We gotta get in there. We'll whip up a pitch doc, and I don't know who we send it to. Like, is it just like Feige at Disney.com?
Dear Mr. Kevin.
Yes.
Do we have a pitch for you?
I'll see if I can find his favorite restaurants out here in town, and I'll just try to drop pitches into his
I think if
car.
I'll
bribe the valet.
If we hang out at Lids long enough, do you think he'll stop by to get a hat?
I feel like I feel like he's got a guy at Lids somewhere that's doing some custom embroidery on his hats.
Okay, we might need to go bribe that guy then to get us in here. But so obviously this means there's not going to be a decision until the top of 2024 with production and obviously director searching. I mean, this is looking like a late 2025 movie, 2026 movie. So they're either going to pop up in Secret Wars, or this might be one of the first movies after Secret Wars, Mike. Right when they do that quote unquote reboot, if you will, the soft reboot.
I keep seeing little fancy photoshopped Instagram tiles in my Explorer feed of this will be a reboot of the Marvel Universe after Secret Wars. So at least the internet's running with the rumor. or the
idea.
the soft theory, you know.
Yeah. So and obviously we've all been proven wrong before, but this is very exciting to know that they're working on it, right? With X-Men 97 coming out soon, a lot of Funkos and like merch coming out. One of our ladies I work with had on a X-Men 97 shirt the other day, and I'm like, is that? She's like, yeah, I loved watching it as a kid with my brother. I'm like, let me look at that, and I'm like, oh, this is the new artwork, because you can tell because Storm has her mohawk, and what's her name? Not Dazzler. Jubilee has her more Asian descent look to her, like right in the artwork. So I'm like, oh, this is the new stuff. So we are like on the cusp of new X-Men content, Mike, and that theme song, that classic X-Men animated theme song that we all crave. All right, we're going to shift over gears into the DCU land. This week, James Gunn has revealed which 4 actors who will continue from the DCEU to the DCU. And those 4 are probably no surprise to you, Mike. And we're not surprised to me. But Blue Beetle and the actor, I'm going to butcher his name, Jolo Maradueno, John Cena's Peacemaker, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, and Freddie Stroma as Vigilante.
Yeah, I mean, not surprised to see John Cena sticking around. I mean, from the Blue Beetle perspective, that's strong. I feel like that's almost an official statement that the movie performed well enough to keep that portion of the franchise moving forward. So that's good. But it makes me wonder, like, you know, does that mean whenever we see James Gunn's version of Batman, he's technically a fascist because George Lopez called him one in the movie? I don't know. I guess he has to canonically exist already. But who knows? I've also seen, like, James Gunn, I think, also officially said that it doesn't necessarily mean that version of them is carrying over. I think he's tweeted that. Yeah,
well, the next line is that he has said that the DCU canon canonically starts with Creature Commandos and Superman Legacy. So yes, Blue Beetle, the movie, may not carry over. Some portions will, especially the actor/character, but that doesn't mean, again, that line will be either, right? Or any of the other pieces. George Lopez may not come with them. We don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
So
maybe just the fact that the character has been onboarded already. You know, when the next time we meet Blue Beetle, he's, you know, a fully fledged hero already, and they don't really need to harken back to what happened in his movie, which is a bit unfortunate because his movie kind of did end in a little bit of a cliffhanger, but. Who knows? I mean, the funniest part about all of these, like, kind of like James Gunn drops online is always just go into the replies, find the Zack Snyder fanboys, and they still cannot accept the fact that the world has moved on from their gritty take in the Snyderverse, and it's just like, man, there's no helping these people anymore. I think we have filtered more and more as every week, every year, you know, goes by. You know, more have dropped off the bandwagon. So now it's just like the extremists left, right?
Yeah,
just the nutso people that have, you know, just random, like,
they're playing with their Barbies
DCU,
and having hard obsessions with Zack Snyder's.
Yeah, but I get a lot of joy out of that, just seeing these people break down of just like, and it'll be nice, obviously, if Superman Legacy and also to a lesser extent Creature Commandos is insanely good, effective, smash breakout hit. Everyone likes it, and it just can't be denied anymore. And then maybe finally the Snyder heads will sit down.
Yeah, I doubt it. But you know. You at least know where to find them, I guess, now. They're a little more... They're not spending money on those airplanes. But, you know, these are 4 strong characters. You know, Viola Davis is Amanda Waller. I believe... Was she in the first movie? Was she in Man of Steel? I believe.
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like she wasn't cast until the first Suicide Squad.
No, she was Batman v Superman for sure.
She was?
Was
she like at the end of it? Was she like in a post-credit scene?
I thought she was part of the people talking about Batman. Let me see here. I'm just gonna look her up.
I mean, I guess I really didn't bring up. I mean, to me, like, Viola Davis, obviously an amazing actor, brings a presence to the screen every time that she's on it. But to me, I just feel like the Amanda Waller character, I've just haven't really fallen in love with any interpretation that I've seen on screen, right? You know, obviously, like she's badass and like she's commanding the room, but like I feel like there's so much stigma around the character, her version of the character for me, just because I associate her 100% with the David Ayer Suicide Squad, and I just can't turn that off in my brain, which is unfortunate. But
so you're right. That was her first appearance, and I was thinking of the scene in that movie where they mentioned Batman.
Yeah, that happens like at the end, right? Yeah, it's just maybe Gunn gave her a little bit more fleshed out story in Peacemaker, even though she wasn't in it all that much. We got to meet her daughter, so at least that kind of helped, you know.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I think, you know, I actually forgot she was in the first movie, and I forget that first movie. Unlike you, so I said the opposite. I think she'll be fine. I think, you know, that there's no reason for them to recast her if she's doing a good job. But you know, if they wanted to, I don't think I would have complained either. If that makes sense. Like, I can go either way. I think she's a great actress, does good stuff, but I'm not strong. I don't have strong. I'm not saying restore the Viola Davis verse. Kind of strong here. So. Absolutely fine. And then obviously Peacemaker, Vigilante. I didn't really expect it, but I'm at the same time like that's a good call because he is the Peacemaker foil, and was a great part of Peacemaker. So, yeah, hopefully we get some release dates on Creature Commandos sooner than later, Mike, and we'll report back here for everybody else. Lastly, let's end on the topic. It's Rick and Morty season, Mike.
Man, Chris, I totally forgot about this until I saw it in the show notes, and I'm like, this should have been the featured image. This would have got us clicks. I should have put this in here.
Yeah, well, it's not too late, Mike. You can still go back. So the season trailer, I don't know if you saw it yet or not.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is revealed that they're using sound alikes for the show, Mike. We've been doing a lot of recaps and reviews up here, but they have decided. Since Justin Roiland has been let go from the show due to alleged incidents earlier this year, they've used sound alikes to voice over the show for season 7, and honestly, sounds pretty good. Hate to say it. I was trying to pick apart things, but at the same time, like that's not the point of this. The point of this is to enjoy the content for what it is, not if the voice is off by just a second.
You'll get both sides of the feud in the comments, similar to when I was talking about the Snyder fans, right? You go into the comment section of anywhere this trailer's been posted, you're going to be hearing people saying it's trash, it's awful. Then you'll hear people say like, oh, it's an exact sound like, what are you talking about? I'm more in the camp of it sounds just like Justin Roiland, and I truly believe that if they did this secretly and we didn't even know that the voices have changed, nobody would have picked up on it, right? It's just the fact that people are looking for something to change and be different. And I've seen some people out there on the internet that have worked on the show for the past, like 5-6+ seasons, that have been there the whole time, and they say like, if you actually are a fan, you would have noticed that the voice just has inherently changed on its own over the last couple of years, just as like the characters have evolved and, the vocal performances just change. I for some reason, I was never expecting, and I don't know why, it's obvious, that 2 people could have been brought in to replace the voices, right? For some reason, I just always assumed they were going to look for somebody that could do both. But yeah, I guess it makes more sense that you can probably find 2 people that can just do one really, really well. So I think the only thing that I've seen before, and I don't know if it's been like an official statement, but apparently they're relatively young voice actors.
They have not announced who it is yet, and they're not putting that even anywhere at this point. So I think that's a smart idea to do that, but by not singling them out yet.
Yeah, I would think either you keep it secret for as long as you can, or at least wait until like you're at least part way through the season, right? Until like you've kind of proved to the audience like, yeah, this is good, and then release the voice. And I doubt the voice. This is the unfortunate part, right? This is a really great break for these voice actors. This is a really, really good gig, but more than likely it's going to be a long, long time before they're ever up on stage at a Comic-Con, right? Because there's just so much turmoil around it. So I guess, keep it secret, take the paycheck, and then, look for the next gig.
Yeah. My favorite comment so far, it's crazy how they got Jerry's voice so perfect. Because Jerry didn't change. He's the same actor over time. But overall, the adventures look zany. It looks, like a pretty standard fare for Rick and Morty. Obviously, the other part is people are like, "Yo, there's a writer strike, there's an actor strike. What's going on?" Season 8 was already written and ready to be animated before the strike. So my guess is they're animating this for next year's release. And then part of season 9 was already written, but now that the strike is over. Preliminarily, they can get back to working on season 9 as well, because I believe they are renewed at least through season 10 on the episode count. So, I'm excited to dive back into Rick and Morty, Mike, because again, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very high concept show. Sometimes I like how it pokes fun at things, and then also it's fun. They're not all zingers by any means, but it's a show that knows what it is, and I'm excited to get into it. So but thank God we are past the Szechuan sauce fiasco of season 2 or 3 or 4 that they had. So now we just get the other sauces from McDonald's. What were those? I sent those to you earlier this week. There's 2 McDonald's sauces coming out.
Oh yeah, I don't even remember.
In case you didn't look, starting October 9th, 2 new sauces: sweet and spicy jam and mambo.
Mambo.
Sweet and spicy jam sauce is described as a jammy red pepper sauce with tongue-numbing Szechuan peppercorn kick and extra heat from cayenne pepper. And mambo sauce is described as a tomato-based sweet and spicy vinegary sauce that's inspired by a sauce popular in Washington, D.C. So, don't know what those are. But anyway, sorry, that was our snacks moment for the show while we get into it. But yeah, anyway, so that's the show for this week. Mike, if people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at, my friend?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can read my webcomic at liferewardsrisk.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, Valdan, or on video game systems of the same name. We're almost a Spider-Man 2 season, Mike. I'm so excited for this. So it's coming up this month of October. Now people know more about the show, where they can listen to us, where they can catch our live streams. Now that we're live streamers, where they can get all that goodie at.
Well, as an old-timey businessman might say, you can find where we hang our hat at superheroslate.com. We got an awesome upcoming release calendar if you want to see where the current state of all the release dates of all the things that we talk about on this show are at. We got no annoying pop-up ads, no newsletter sign-up module that's going to annoy you, no ads. I don't even think we had to conform to the website regulations that the UK passed, because we're not doing any sort of tracking or anything over there. It's just a nice tool that we like to give to everyone out there. So you can find that at superheroslate.com. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, obviously, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to podcasts. And if you want to get swag, you can go to superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out. Let us know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to.
What games you're playing.
Yes, what media you are consuming. We love hearing from you. And most importantly, if you want to be a super fan of this show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks. Parentheses, asterisk, I won't be here next week.
Mike has missed so many episodes this week, he might not get a passing grade this year, is what I'm going to tell him. But anyways, we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.